Karen is Dad.
I think Dad has made some excellent progress today.
Your dad, he's a fun guy, right?
Daddy's gone mad, hasn't he?
And I love him so much, and I think he's the greatest dad in the world.
Welcome back to the Working on the Dad Pod. I'm Alex, he's Ethan, and tonight we are giving our oldest man takes, right? We are fully putting on, if you have ever seen Gran Torino, Clint Eastwood, Front Yard, the meme, the gif, him grumbling like an old man, mad at everything, minus the racism. That's what we got tonight.
Yeah, totally.
Right? Just
Minus
the old man take. I won't speak for Ethan. I'm covering my own butt there. But
Sure.
that's what we're discussing tonight. Some of our old man takes now that, we're both 37. But before we get into that, we'll do a little story time. And even before that, this is your reminder to like and subscribe everywhere you get your podcasts, or anywhere you get your podcasts, really. I mean, if you wanted to do it a bunch of places, fine, but I get that's a lot of phone notifications. YouTube's the best place to find us because then you'll get to see the videos. We're also starting to try and share more shorts there and some clips from our podcast. So if you just want some quotable stuff, check us out. YouTube Shorts, TikTok, Instagram, you name it.
For
it's a lot of
sure.
fun.
And
if you're having any trouble finding it, head to our website, workingonthedadpod.com.
Yeah, and if you've updated your Apple products recently, the podcast app now allows for video watching. So yeah,
wow.
Yeah. It's okay. I mean, there's one particular show that when I listen to it, it freezes a lot. I don't seem to have that problem with other shows, so I don't want to say
how's ours doing.
I actually haven't watched ours since that update yet.
Okay,
on
that
device.
To say live on the podcast,
but it's good. Yeah,
I'm a
YouTube.
Spotify guy. If you are on Spotify, that's your platform of choice. I can tell you, we upload the videos to Spotify. We actually upload to Spotify, and Spotify sends it to the rest of the world. So I watched ours on Spotify, watch them on YouTube, watch them on Spotify, and now, maybe pending confirmation, watch them on Apple Podcasts.
There we go.
If you use something else, that's your choice, and you can get the audio version.
There you go. Well said.
So, story time. You want to go first? Yeah. You want me to go first?
Why don't you go first? Yeah.
All right. First. Well, it has been a little bit of a week in the Bryant household. It has not been any one singular event, but the culmination of multiple things just sort of happening. I just mentioned to you before we started up the episode, my wife was gone Monday to Wednesday of last week. She left again for another work trip. Last week was work trip. This week's a work trip. Left on Tuesday morning. She will get back late on Saturday night. So essentially 5 full days, just me and the kids. Obviously, as you know, if you're a longtime listener to the podcast or listen to select episodes, I got some grandma help. So it's not the end of the world that I'm not on a complete island, but at the same time, it comes with its own challenges, right? I have to do extra school pickups that my wife normally does. I have to coordinate a few things single-handedly that my wife does. One of the big ones was we have our cleaning service coming tomorrow. And let's just be honest, my wife carries the mental load of making sure that house is picked up and making sure it's to the standard. I had to take that on. And it's a really great sort of segue from, the conversation we were having last week on the podcast, where we were trying to find the joy in the chaos. And I've been trying my best to do that this week. I have, for lack of beating a dead horse, brought out my inner bandit healer quite a bit. Tried to play games, do accents with the kids, right? I'll use the example of picking up the house tonight. We have to get everything picked up. And I told the kids, I was like, all right, here's what we're going to do. We've got to pick up for the cleaning ladies tomorrow. And I got 2 groans from 2 very nonplussed kids. I said, here's the plan. We're going to go to the gas station. I'm going to get a giant can of gasoline, a box of matches. We're just going to burn it all down and we're not going to do it. That got a giggle out of them. They're like, no. Okay, fine. You don't want to do that. You've been heard. So now the other option is just pick up the house, but we'll make it fun. What do we need to do to make it fun? And I took a group poll. I said, here are some ideas. We need nicknames. So I was Dr. Dishwasher. My son was Super Scrubber. And my daughter was Madam Sparkle. And we could only refer to each other by our nicknames for the entirety of pickup. And I said, we need a playlist. So we popped on Spotify. Not a sponsor. Would love it if they were.
Would be the best.
Yeah, it'd be up there with Apple Podcasts or YouTube. Get that Google money. Popped on Spotify, got the app on our TV in the living room so they love seeing the album art. And so had that going. And then, of course, the piece de resistance. Dad's tired. It's been a week, not just personally. There's been some professional stuff going on, not the fault of anybody in particular, but it's been just a tough week emotionally for me. And I said, hey, if we get this done early enough, I'll let you eat dinner and watch TV.
Whoa.
Not only did they do it and do a great job with absolutely no complaints, they had enough time between when we finished and when it was time to brush teeth that they got a full-length feature film.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
91
what time did you start this?
Started at 5:22, finished at 5:57.
Okay.
Brush teeth time is 7:35. And I said, you got to pick a movie that's at least 90 minutes or less. And they picked one of my personal childhood favorites, one of my wife's personal childhood favorites, The Swan Princess.
I heard that's on Netflix now.
Yeah, it's on Netflix. So we watched that, loved it. I was doing I was able to pull from that, use some impressions as I was telling them to get their PJs on. Change.
Yeah. Been a while since I've seen that, obviously.
That was one of those movies that when I was about my daughter's age, that was like, I watched that until it was beaten to the ground for a while. So I got quite a few quotes just stockpiled up here.
Yeah, my wife's pretty excited to stream that one, but and I'm not excited. I just don't have that. It wasn't a must watch all the time for me. That's all.
Yeah, in my house it was for my wife. It is the one movie we have purchased from Apple Movies, and we did it several years ago. Like, I think my daughter was young enough that she doesn't remember that she's watched this movie, but I actually have that movie on all my devices on ownership, but we never pull it up because they always want to just flip through the options and figure out something on one of the streaming apps.
Cool. Nice. Well, that's a good story. So I will say last week we talked about, the inner bandits, the gamifying. And I have actually really been putting that front of mind lately because, and you actually right after you sent me a picture of your daughter going to bed like was it a slug or a snail?
It was a worm. I was getting her to pick up her stuff. It was a different pickup time. Works great for pickup apparently.
Yeah, and
I was having
good.
her pick up each item as a different animal impression. And then I told her the hardest one would be last because she was nailing them. And I had her go from our living room to our bedroom with her pajamas doing an impression of a worm.
And that was great. So I needed the girls to get upstairs. So obviously worm would not work for stairs. So I said, well, sure, you're right. It could work. I just don't think they're there yet, to be honest. So I basically had them, I asked, how fast can you get upstairs like a bunny? So we did that. That worked a couple times. This morning, we are I'm really tired. You know, I have alarms set for 6:45, 7, and 7:15. You know, I'm normally out. I wake the girls up at 7, but I need that like 15 minutes between to get from my room
wake
to
up
their
at
room.
6:20. Everybody else wakes up at 6:30. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Exactly. So I immediately fell back to sleep at 6:45. So 7 o'clock hits, and I'm like, dang it. So I get up, I wake both the girls up. I say, hey, wake up. At 7:15, they are still not out of bed, and I'm a little peeved because I have been yelling. I was like, hey, I am getting dressed on my own. I am just, my door's open. I'm going to keep saying, remember to get out of bed, but I'm getting myself dressed. I need you to do the same thing. They did not. My 3-year-old screamed at me to get out of her room. I said, I will get out of your room once I see that you start getting dressed. She then said no. So I started dressing her. And then she started saying, get out, get out. And I said, I'm explaining to you this very simply. I will get out once you start dressing yourself. I am not touching you. Start getting dressed. No, get out. Okay, I'm going to keep dressing you now because we just do not have enough time for this. So it was an aggressive morning. I never yelled, but I did express my frustrations and say that I'm unhappy. Things were taken away because they just the games weren't working. And
you can calmly. I have learned this through trial and error. I can give consequences in the same voice that I'm talking to you now, and the consequences still hurt.
Exactly. So that's what I was doing because I didn't want to get all worked up. The other night, my daughter got worked up, and my 6-year-old, and she's the one who's more like me, and she did a lot of screaming. In fact, she did a lot of screaming tonight, in which I just kind of said, "Okay, you've now screamed 5 times. I'm taking away 5 things, and." Scream again. I'll take something else, but it's up to you. But the other night, I said to her, I said, hey, you and I are a lot alike. We get heated very quickly. I make a lot of weird noises throughout the day. It annoys some people. But the truth is, when I go, that is me literally calming my body. And sometimes you just need to do it. Because you will feel it if you want to stop the inevitable flash up. And I was a little more eloquent in my words. I don't know why I said flash up right now. That was not anything I've ever said before. But I've been doing my working really hard. So this wasn't as much of a story as just a lot of bits and pieces of the week where I've just tried to put into practice the things that we talk about on the podcast that throughout the week. It's kind of like I remember it in the moment, like when we're talking about it on the show, but I'm really trying to think about it 7 days a week, our show, because I'm also kind of a narcissist. So, and that's fine.
Sure. But I think that conversation, the ones we've had before, similar veins, right? You get to a point where it just kind of soaks through. And I think that's what we're trying to achieve, but it's also in increments. And one of the biggest realizations I have is like the best teaching we can do of our kids is showing them how we react to difficult people. I know in my job, I know talking to you about your job and most everybody out there that deals with other people, whether you are a stay-at-home parent or employed, you deal with difficult people. And how you react to difficult people teaches your children how to react to difficult people. They can 100%. Be the difficult people and they will still understand over time really slowly, way slower than I would like, how they're supposed to react, but it does take time. And sometimes, just like you did, like my daughter's a hothead like me, and I explicitly will tell her, hey, I get exactly what you're feeling. Here's what I do. Lay out the steps.
Yep.
And every now and then I see her doing some of them. And I go, progress.
Yeah. And I do want to say, now that I remember, speaking of progress, and last week we talked about progress not being linear. I actually said to her, I said, look, I don't expect you to be good at this right away. In fact, you're going to mess up a lot, but I just want you to practice this. And I said, it took me a while to learn how to do this too. And I'm still learning. I'm definitely not perfect. Just ask your mom. But, you know, we can work on it together. And before we get into the fun part of the episode, you mentioned, you know, like a draining work week. But I every once in a while at work, you know, my work sucks right now. We don't need to get into that. I've spent a lot of time talking about it. But every once in a while I have realizations about work. And it hit me, it was either yesterday or the day before. But like, my job right now is babysitting. And I'm not talking about like the times in the past when there's been an issue between an employee and a supervisor and they go, oh, we'll just like put this guy in Ethan's office. Ethan will handle it, which has happened. You know, like I've babysat literal people. But my job right now is like I am babysitting ideas and tasks that other people have that are half-baked, not fully developed, not ready to go out in the real world, and they need to be passed off to like the bad guy just to get killed. And my whole job right now is to literally babysit and nurse ideas. And it's hard for me not to care, because obviously a good babysitter should want to make sure that the child survives in their care. But just like I'm the one that just has to like keep the idea incubated until the political leadership wants to kill it. And it's like so emotionally draining for that to be like my job constantly, because it's, you know, we're in the point where we're, you know, the government has changed the performance year to align with the fiscal year. And so we have to rewrite everybody's performance plans due to new guidelines. And, you know, that's all due next week. And I'm just thinking about my performance plan. And it's like, how do I articulate that I'm successfully leading things to their death constantly? That doesn't seem like a good thing to do, but it's the job I'm being doing it. Yeah, true.
I mean, in a more general sense, you know, sorry that you're going through that, but I think having some mentally, emotionally draining stuff going on in my own personal or in my own work life really focused, I think, bring it back to the conversation we were having earlier of having fun with the kids. I just had an aha moment with all of it of like, I can be frustrated about my work. You know, everybody talks about like, don't bring it home with you. And that's like really easy to say, but it's really a choice that you have to consistently make of like, I am going to leave it here and choose to be a happy, bright person. And what I have found is that is a really hard choice to start. It's like going for a run on a morning where you're tired and you're sore and maybe it's a little colder than you want out or something like that. And then once you're into it, you realize this was much better than not doing it and just being a grump. Because like today was tough. When the kids came home, my daughter had gotten fire ant bites and was like complaining. Like she's gotten 2 of them. And, you know, my mother-in-law comes in and is like, do you have Benadryl? Blah, blah. Like everybody's just manic. And it's exactly the energy I didn't need right as I'm logging off, right at 5 o'clock. And I had to flip a switch in my mind and say, okay, I can either match their energy, bring all my baggage, be negative, or we can, because we got cleanup that everybody in this house is going to hate, or we can flip the switch. And then it turned into joyful, laughing, productive, right? And it's not, there's no magic wand other than choosing joy. And it sounds really cheesy, but that's just sort of like what I've found. And then like now talking to you, if I had chosen the other path, I would come here and I would probably look and feel beaten down and half my mind being like, when can I just get off and like stare at my phone for 30 minutes and go to bed? And like, I'm in a much better mood because I didn't have to fight with the kids at all tonight about anything.
That's great. And yeah. And you know, the downside, you know, there are a few downsides to working from home, but you actually, you know, it's not flipping a switch, but you don't have, you literally have to walk from one, like you take a step and that's like your commute home, right?
Like my son will come up right here. I'm sitting at my desk tonight, not out in my wife's office because she's not here. And like my son, sometimes I have these in, they're noise canceling. Maybe I'm listening to music and like my son will just appear here. And I'm like, okay, dad time. Like,
right. Exactly. And you know, there's a lot I can complain about, you know, having to go to the office every day. And there's so much that sucks about commuting in public transit. And, you know, that's actually alluding to some of the takes we'll talk about. But, you know, at least in theory, that's 40 minutes where I can transition from work to parenting. It doesn't always work perfectly, but in theory, that should be the time to do it. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, tonight I was feeling
happy part of the episode where we complain about everything.
Yeah. I've noticed I've had a few get off my lawn moments. And yeah, I just thought it'd be a fun exercise to do that. And I'd like to kick it off with something that's been percolating since I was a kid, actually, but I'm now 37 years old, and I'm just ready to say this. Are you ready? Other than at a concert, music should never be loud. Why do I feel that way? If you're in a car with somebody and they turn up the music, you're now yelling to talk to them. If you're at a club, and I'm not talking like a dance club, I'm talking like just a bar with your friends, and the music's blasting, you're yelling to talk to them. We all could be just as happy with music in the background and talking at a normal level. I don't understand why music needs to be loud, other than at a concert where the event is to listen to the music. Otherwise, what are we doing here?
Yeah. No, I'm right there with you. I mean, this has been, I don't think I cared as much when I was growing up because I just didn't come across it in my family or my friends that much. But once we got to college, there was always that dude in the dorms who decided that he was going to play his music on his laptop and that everybody was going to listen because he had the intention of setting a mood or setting a party or just like jamming out. And the first person that did this was like my suite mate. First couple days of freshman year. And I'm just like, and this guy was really into just a style of music that's not my vibe. Like white boy reggae, like a lot of Sublime, that kind of stuff.
I know who you're talking about. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And it's just like, it was infuriating. And it always was because I moved and when we lived in the fraternity house together, we know exactly who I mean when I say that too. And it's like, I could like the song, I could hate the song, but I don't want to hear it right now. I got my own things going on. People that listen to music on the metro, the subway, public transit, people
without
that
headphones.
Have it play. Yeah. I'm like, that's why Steve Jobs invented the AirPod. Right?
Yeah.
Or Isaac Newton or whoever did it invented headphones in the first place. You want to use a cord, use a cord. I don't care. But
100%.
I hate that. I hate
and
people
and that's
watching
yeah.
their Instagram reels on their phone with volume on in
Sitting
like
next
a
to
room
me.
with other people. Like if I want to watch something and I don't have my headphones or whatever, I literally go in the other room because
Yep.
I golden rule that. You
Oh
know,
yeah,
like
100%. And you know, I felt that way like as a kid because my younger brother, we would drive to school. He'd always turn up the radio really loud. I would turn it down. He'd get mad. We'd start fighting and we'd start every day arguing with each other. And I said, "Hey, if you don't want to talk to me, you also don't need it loud. We either can chat or not. But like, I'm the driver and I want to hear if someone's honking at me, you know?"
I mean, I have had to like I'm glad I get to vent about this because I don't actually get to like control it in my life
Mm-hmm.
because my wife is not one of these people out in public, but she is one of these people in our house where she will just decide unilaterally that we need music. She will ask our Google to play, you know, she gets songs stuck in her head. She starts singing something. And then her first move, like I'll sing it, I'll hum it, I won't act on it. Maybe I'll put on my headphones and listen to it at an appropriate time. She will talk to Google and ask Google to start playing it throughout the house. But the Google is right above our kitchen sink. And like 4 times out of 5, I'm sitting there washing dishes and she's got to make sure that thing's loud enough that she can hear it as she's moving through the house. And I'm just standing there dying inside.
Yeah.
And I just eventually, and then
man.
she'll try to talk to me. She'll try to talk to me from the bedroom. I'm like, I've got water running. I've got Taylor Swift blasting my eardrums right now.
Right.
What on God's green earth could you possibly want from me?
Yep. And there's no point to that unless you're at a concert. That's my take.
The difference is like it brings my kids joy sometimes.
Sure.
Because maybe they'll ask for it, and that's what's made me swallow it. Is I'm just like, okay, and then what can I do? I will pop these in. I'll start listening to music, a podcast, an audiobook, whatever I want to listen to. And then of course it's like, why do you have your headphones in? You can't hear anybody. I'm like, I couldn't hear anybody if I didn't have them in anyway.
Right. And you know, we have the same situation. My kids try to make it louder. I then immediately make it lower. And they say, but we can't hear. And I say, do you need to go to the ear doctor? And they say, no. I say, so can you hear? I go, yeah. And I said, do you just want it louder? Yeah. And it's like, well, I don't, because I need to talk to your mom about stuff. So that's that.
my kids can turn their Alexa up if they want, but they have to put the door closed. I'm like, there's a certain volume level where the door gets to remain open.
There you go.
That
went over well. I feel good.
Yeah. All right. My first take. A lot of mine are a little more parenting focused.
Okay.
Not that wasn't, but so my first old man take. Kids don't just go outside anymore. I remember when I was a kid, my MO most days was I had neighbors that lived next to me on both sides that were roughly my age. I'd call one of their houses. Either they'd pick up or their parents would pick up. I'd be like, hey, can so-and-so come outside and play? And then we just do that. Like that would be so much of a Saturday for me. Is just wandering around the neighborhood. Maybe if I was leaving our street, I might tell my mom like, hey mom, like going over here, I'll be back, by sunset. Right. But that whole thing of like, go out, explore, don't die, come back when you're expected to. Now I feel like childhood is like so fully structured sometimes, and life is so structured that we can't always don't always allow our kids to just like go be kids and explore. Like I was never in a household, and it's not as extreme as like the people that I've seen on social media talking about like they were kicked out of the house and not allowed to come back kind of thing until dinner time. Like I could always come back, but it was just the choice. Like we're going to be outside. We might be playing basketball in the backyard. We might be running around playing tag. We might be exploring somewhere, riding bikes, you name it. But like it felt like this thing. I keep coming back to this idea that independence used to be something you accidentally like earned just by being out of sight long enough. And I feel like now that there's so many like helicopter parents out there that we're always monitoring our kids and we don't allow them to accidentally on purpose earn trust. Like they've got to hit all these benchmarks for us to trust them. And I'm not going to go so far as to say that it is absolutely causing developmental failures in our children. That is extreme. That is not, to my knowledge, evidence-based. I have not done a lot of research. This is an old man hot take. You don't do research for those. But it is my hunch, my guess, my hypothesis that it affects their development in some way by not giving them the latitude to earn trust almost implicitly out the door.
Fair take. We now that the weather is getting a little warmer, my daughters will tell me to text the parents of the other kids on the block to meet outside, play with chalk. Sometimes they play school, which we as parents, we just make fun of them. It's like they literally are sitting there and one's pretending to teach and they're just sitting there playing school. And it's like, that's the lamest game I've ever seen. But, we enjoy watching them be lame. But yeah, no, so my kids are at least doing that now that the weather is a little warmer. So this next hot take is also a generational divide between me and my older daughter now.
Okay.
I'm going to link it back to a story from last week. My mom was in town. And, when my mom's in town, we go out to dinner a lot, there's like a point of, it's a ridiculous point of pride where, my mom will be like, hey, can I buy you groceries? And I'll say, no, but you can take me to a nice meal. I don't know why, but to me, it's different. I feel like if she's buying me groceries, I feel like I haven't done well, but if she takes me to a restaurant, I feel like that's just her being nice. I don't know what it is in my head, but it is. Anyway. So this Sunday, we decided we were going to get some Thai food for dinner. And we were going to walk to the restaurant. And my 6-year-old has a meltdown because she decided that she wanted to go somewhere else, a place that we had just been to. And I said, hey, your grandmother's in town. This is what we all want to do. She goes, but you also chose yesterday. And we had to go. Turns out my daughter hates reservations. Okay. She's wrong. She's wrong. And I love reservations.
Reservations.
Yeah. I do not like to wait for a table. Okay. I will not go to most restaurants if they do not offer reservations. I'm not saying there shouldn't be a walk-in section. I am saying, because there are some people who like the experience of waiting in line for food. I don't. If I can't make a reservation, I'm usually not going to go. My daughter does not like that a reservation means she has no choice in the moment. She doesn't like that it means she has to rush. But you know what? As a parent and as a, slightly privileged white man in America, I like reservations because I don't like to wait, and I like the order, and I like to know that when I get there, I get to go to the restaurant. And as a parent, it sets a clock. We have to get here by this time. I need you moving. This is the plan. We're gonna do the plan. Structured, going back to your take, and this is how I planned our day, and that's it. So, you know what, daughter, when you listen to this, you're wrong. Reservations are phenomenal. And I failed you as a father.
Alrighty. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can get behind reservations, but I just switched up my order because on one of my takes, because this feels like the right time. My old man take is that waiting has disappeared.
Oh,
we have become a society that has almost completely eliminated the experience of waiting and cannot stand to be bored. It felt like we used to, lines, delays, silence, idle time, right?
I never liked
anything. But now, if anything takes longer than a few seconds or a few minutes, it feels like it's a problem that we have to solve instead of an opportunity to just sit with ourselves, right? If we are delayed in any way, we grab our phones, right? We just pick up our phones, we grab those, we're instantly looking for dopamine gratification, something when we have to wait. And I feel like with kids, especially, like, we grew up in a time where like we had to wait for things, right? We didn't have online ordering for most of our childhood. You had to go to a store, you had to stand in line, you had to order, and then you had to wait for your food. And best case scenario, you had like a book or a Game Boy or something like that.
Right.
Maybe. And I'm not necessarily saying those things are better than an iPad game or something like that, but it felt like there was waiting baked in and you learned some patience. And now the world moves fast. Something can solve your problem. Like, it's speeding up at exponential speeds thanks to like AI innovations as well. And my take is not that those are all bad things. I use AI constantly in my job. I love the convenience of online ordering, DoorDash, whatever you're doing. I love those things that can eliminate inconveniences in life. The issue I see is that waiting, and really the appropriate term here is boredom, for both adults, but especially kids. Boredom is a place where growth comes. Boredom is a place where ideas come. And if we are building a society that cannot ever accept being bored, then this comes into another thing where I think we're not building those muscle fibers that learn how to wait and learn how to sit in the boredom so that we can actually like ideate and be clear-headed.
And I think that's a fair take. What I will say though is, my thought is with reservations, like, I also never got the joy in waiting in line like some people did to do something, whether it was like a release or like I'm going to line up 7 hours early to go into a store when something opens. Because, like Harry Potter books, people would pre-order their Harry Potter books. Then they would wait in line for hours to pick up their pre-order. Never made any sense to me. I pre-ordered it so that I didn't have to wait in line. I pre-ordered the new iPhone so that I wouldn't have to wait with all the people who are hoping to get them before they run out. I vote early or vote by mail so that I don't have to take off hours early from work to sit in the line and, yes, be bored, but like, it's a civic duty. Like, I enjoy voting. It is my job as a citizen to vote, but if there's a way that it doesn't take up 4 hours of my day, I don't want it to. That's all.
Yeah. No, I hear you. But it's about that boredom. It's about that disconnecting. So yeah, this is one of those where I am not mad at the individual innovations. It is the collective effect on the sum of this is people are not bored enough.
Yeah. And my wife and I do make an emphasis to like let our kids know it's okay to be bored. It's okay to not be doing anything in front of a screen. It's okay to be use your imagination and do an activity that requires thought. I'm all about that.
Yeah.
But I think that, you know, to me, there's a difference between being bored, learning how to be bored, and time that I feel is being wasted. And sometimes, yeah. And so to me, you know, I don't like wasted time because I don't get a lot of time to myself. But, you know, I remember I was on a work trip to Indianapolis a couple of years ago, you know, like maybe 10 years ago. And my favorite part of the trip was that there was a night with nothing. I made a reservation for one at a restaurant I had been really excited to go for. I got there a little bit early. I had no problem waiting because I was there early, but they were able to seat me early. Put on a podcast and I sat by myself. And for 90 minutes, it was just me, and might have even been an audiobook. I honestly don't remember, but I was just at peace. And had I not made that reservation and I was, you know, waiting an hour for them to come. Yeah.
The flip side of that, though, is you're doing the waiting after, right? You've traded the waiting. I wouldn't say you've traded the boredom because pop these in and start entertaining yourself. Whatever.
Sure.
Not here to critique that. But the peace, the quiet, you traded it, right? But if you in the past could only do 5 things in a day because you had to wait, and now you're saying, I'm going to do those 5 things faster, and then I'm going to do 5 more things, like that is mental strain on you. And that's where I'm like, man, it feels like that is why we are one of the biggest reasons feels like we are going as a society, because we're taking the optimizations and we're not pulling back on the free time. We're going, okay, that didn't take as long as it used to. What can I fill the gaps with?
Sure. I think it's more just about if I can. Yes, I'm trading the wait time, but when I plan to have the time to myself, and you know, I could have sat silently and like listened to people in the restaurant and eavesdropped, you know, but that wasn't what I wanted the time to be alone and bored and with my thoughts.
Right.
I just wanted it on my terms, you know?
No, and that's fine.
Yeah.
The nuance here is that I don't think enough people in society are choosing that, right? Like, I don't think, like, I think because it's not baked in as a requirement for getting what you want anymore, that not everybody is taking that mental break that they need.
Sure. Okay. I'm ready for my next one.
Go for it.
And this one is kind of an inverse on what a lot of the older generation would say. But I'm going to say it right now. Some technologies have been around too long for anybody to complain about if they're under 90 years old.
Okay.
Like, if you
like
are
a young man take, but yeah, I'm here for it.
No. Because old people are like, oh, I hate these things because they're, you know, so new. But if there are some things that aren't new anymore, like if you are still complaining about the internet, how old are you? You know what I mean? Like it should have been, even if you were the oldest living person at the time we had the internet, you've still had like 40 years to get used to it at this point. Not 30 years, even so. Yeah. But
that's fair.
You know, there are some people who still have problems. Like when they see a brand new TV remote, like the buttons haven't changed. The play button is always the one with the triangle pointed to the right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The power button's always the one that says on off. Like these are not hard things. And you know, I just feel like the excuse, you've lost the excuse. If my 5-year-old knows how to turn a TV on and off, if my 5-year-old knows how to use voice activated device, even though I have a 6-year-old and I keep saying 5-year-old, but you get what I mean. Point is, if you're younger than 90, you've been around using things as literally as long as I have. So what's your deal?
Yeah.
That's where I'm at.
Yeah. I mean, I could defend some of it. I don't feel the need.
Thank you.
Like
Thank you.
I think that it's a willingness. It's a willingness to change, to make the choice, to accept it, to dive in, or to like constantly be scared of it. I do know one person who's never touched a computer, thinks they're awful, doesn't touch the internet. She is indeed over 90. So
okay.
She passes the smell test.
There you go.
Yeah. All right. So for my next one, this is kind of, bleed back into technology on the other side of using everything. I hate, this is one of my personal pet peeves and gripes, is that everything is a damn subscription now. Like, I am not saying that I wish for the days of like cable, because this really isn't just about like streaming subscriptions. Those can get out of hand. You got to have Netflix and Hulu and Disney Plus, and you got to have, whether it's YouTube TV or one of those, or cable, Peacock, HBO, the list goes on, sometimes kind of consolidating. But it's all the little bits and pieces of subscriptions you need to have. I will see all sorts of things when it comes to like smart health devices, whether it's like rings, there's like the Aura ring that you can wear, or other different wearables. I've looked at potential alternatives for my Apple Watch that could maybe give me all the health tracking without all the notifications. And it's like, yeah, it's $200. Plus you have to sign up for our $15 a month subscription for at least a year. And if you unsubscribe from it, you lose half the features. And it's basically just a watch. Or getting at-home workout equipment. Not something I'm specifically looking at this point, but something I was looking at during COVID when we built out a pretty halfway decent home gym. There's a lot of like all-in-one machines that can do a lot of things with like a digital screen to like change your weight. And it will like digitally change the resistance for you. But you got to pay $20 a month for a subscription to get their workout programs and their coaching. And then you lose 90% of the features if you choose not to get the workout programs and the coaching. And I'm just like, I don't want those. I just want a cable machine that attaches to my wall and doesn't have a stack of weights and doesn't take up all the space. That's all I want, right? I want to be able to just like pay you one time for the object I am buying and not have to like just get a subscription, right? You want to go on Audible and get an audiobook. It's like, yeah, you can pay one off, or you can get a book a month for half the price and have a subscription. It's just like,
so it's funny because, I agree with you, subscription. I think it should be one or the other. If you're going to make me subscribe to something, the purchase of the product that requires a subscription should be minimal or free. If you are, if everything's included in the purchase, I shouldn't need a subscription to use it. I think corporate greed has made it so it can't just be one or the other, but it should be one or the other, and that frustrates me. But at work, we just migrated from Microsoft to Google. Doesn't really bother me because I've been at an agency with government Google before, but also I use Google in my life, Gmail, Google Docs, everything. You want to know why? Because when you and I were in college, Microsoft switched from the every year they're going to have a new Microsoft Office suite. You bought the CD-ROM for like $100 and you got all of the work, all of the programs. They switched to a subscription model where the program was free, but if you wanted to create a Word doc, you had to pay monthly for the right to use Microsoft. Google was free.
Yeah.
So
the same thing happened with like Adobe. So like the Photoshop stuff and all of that. They did the same thing. Number of times, like I would pop in the CD and I would get the new version compatible with the old version, no problem. And now it's like, well, now you got to pay us $100 a month. I was like,
right. It's insane. And so I've been dealing with a lot of people freaking out, being like, how am I going to learn how to type on a Google Doc when I'm used to using Word docs? It's the same. It's literally the same. Like, it's the same. In fact, it's easier because it's easier to share and collaborate. Anyway, the point is, like, my whole time I've been thinking, have you in your personal life, are like you still literally paying Bill Gates monthly to type stuff? Is that what's happening? Like, I'll meet somebody with like an AOL email address and I'll be like, are you still paying for email? I just don't understand what's going on here. And you know, that's just something. But yes, I agree with you wholeheartedly. Again, I'm not anti-subscription. I'm anti both. You either make me pay up front or you give me that for free and we subscribe.
Yeah. I think I'm much more a pay up front guy, you know, for a software, even, you know, the only thing is the streaming services I'm actually the most okay with, because I'm like, I am okay with the idea that like next month I may not want this, right? Does that mean that I turn them off and on like that? No, but I know people who do, and sometimes we do. It allows us that opportunity to say, okay, I didn't pay $200 up front for all of Netflix library for the year or something.
Sure.
That's fine with me. But yeah, it really is all those little storage, cloud storage gets me.
Yeah, that annoys me so much.
I'm like, I can buy hardware that I would pay Apple or Google, whichever one I'm using, more money to just give me the storage space one time. But it's got to be an ongoing fee because of course it does.
Yep. Yeah. I'm with you. I hate that. I got you.
Next one.
All right. My next one is very specific to people who commute in major cities. But if you are an Escalefter, which I will explain in a minute, I hate you. That's it. You are the worst human on the planet. For those of you who don't know what an Escalefter is, it is a person who stands on the left side of an escalator where people are clearly trying to go faster than the escalator while everybody else is standing on the right. And if you think that you're special, where people aren't going to run you over like you are Mufasa and Simba in a stampede, you're wrong. And you don't value your life, which is why I think you're the worst person ever. I have been so close to murdering people on the metro because they think that they are better than everybody else and standing on the left and holding up lines of people. Like, especially in DC, there are literal National Guardsmen with guns standing at the metro, and you're going to risk your life like that? It's insane. You know, if they're looking for someone to shoot, and some of them are, you're my recommendation.
It's probably the only thing I'll ever share from our group chat, but we have a group chat where Ethan's nickname in the group chat is indeed DMV Dahmer because of how much he wants to murder people when it comes
I yelled at a kid the other day.
The metro.
I yelled at a youth the other day. I believe
that.
There was a kid, probably about 12 years old, standing on the left side as we were going up, and I see the train, and I like hummed a few times, and somebody started yelling behind me, and I was like, I don't know what's wrong with this stupid kid. And the kid moved, and I ran up, and I barely made my train. But like, I got a good look at that kid's face. And if I had missed my train, I might have hit him. Might have hit him. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those interesting things because I've said this to you quite a few times, and it's always entirely to get a rise out of you. But
Sure.
it is both true
Yeah.
that there are optimizations in how we do it. Like if everybody stood on an escalator, it is factually true that would optimize speed in a utilitarian sense if everybody would get up there faster. The
Sure.
same way that when people, for those of you who don't take as much public transportation, but when there is a lane closure on the highway, if everybody's zippered and just like alternated in, traffic would also move faster. It's a, very similar concept. Where this gets hung up is I'm not Gandhi. I can't be the change I want to see in the world because
Exactly.
you could sit there and know that information unless you're going to be the prick that's announcing it to the entire metro and lecturing everybody and by default then getting murdered yourself. Like,
yeah.
Everybody else is not going to change. And so you can either be part of the stampede or part of the pride.
Yeah. And look, when I was this was 12 years ago, I was in my rookie year in DC. It was the morning. I had a coffee. I tripped on the metro on the left side that I was going up. I spilled my hot coffee all over me. And the guy behind me, you know what he said? He said, "Get to the right." And I said, "I know, sir. I'm sorry. I didn't even wipe myself off." I jumped up and I continued running because I know the system. I knew I was the problem. It was entirely accidental. I didn't mean to fall. I wanted to drink that coffee. But like, I'm not better than anybody else. If I wanted to stay down there and cry, I should have gone to the right, but I didn't. I wanted to get out of there because I believe in the left. Yeah.
All righty. We doing one more or two more? How are we feeling?
I've only got one more, and it's kind of just to get a rise out of you. So whatever you want to do.
Oh boy. All right. Finishing strong. I'm gonna take a personal shot at us with our next one.
Okay.
A little bit.
Sure.
But this infatuation with our society of turning hobbies into side hustles.
Sure.
Welcome to our hobby that we slightly kind of try to monetize. Please like and subscribe on YouTube, everybody.
Please do.
Like follow us on socials, all that good stuff, right? And we mean that, but like it feels like if you bake something, everybody's now in your ear of like, oh, you should sell it. It doesn't take that much to set up like a Spotify shop, or takes a little bit more, but not as much as a restaurant now that food trucks are such a big thing. Like if you make something, it's like, oh, you should be on Etsy, right? You should always be looking to monetize instead of just getting the joy out of it, right? If you're even an average golfer, you should carry around your phone with you and video it and like start golf content, whatever it is. Like it feels like people are always in your ear or you're self-motivated to try to figure out a side hustle. And I think that changes the experience of doing the things, because if you don't have some things in your life that you just do for no other reason than it brings you joy, then it adds stress, right? Like we've started a business together, and not this one, but like we've started a business together. It was my full-time job for a number of years. Like there's a level of stress of that from what was just like a side hustle-y kind of thing, hobby, to like the stress of it being a full-time job. My wife liked doing yoga. She started for funsies teaching yoga classes at her workplace in New York. And then she had a full-on personal training business 5 years later, maybe less. And so it just becomes one of those things where I think that there's like it takes a little bit of the joy out of it. She is now at the point where she's regularly going to the gym and she's regularly working out, but she is so burnt out from what used to be her hobbies that she is paying someone else to program her workouts as a certified personal trainer. And I think it's wild, but I also totally get it that like not everything that's a hobby has to be turned into a side hustle, a TikTok channel, a YouTube channel, a Spotify or not Spotify, Shopify shop, right?
Yeah,
and
at
we
first
should
I was
just
like
enjoy
Spotify
things.
shop. Yeah.
Except
for this one. This should make money. You should like and subscribe and pay us.
Listen,
dads.
we're gonna get Ethan a new camera. We'll do all sorts of great stuff. We'll feed the hungry or something. You know, we make enough money.
Yeah,
give it back to the people.
100%. So my last one, it's something I believe. I cleared it with my wife on the language, and it got a rise out of you last week, and I just want to bring it back because that was a lot of fun. So here you go, Alex. It's 2026. I support women's rights and women's wrongs. And for those of you who are in context, we had a friend who made a comment about he was surprised that like his wife was messier than he is. And it's 2026. Why can't women be messy? Why do we have to keep pretending that they're better than us in every way? I believe in equality. I believe in equity. I believe that we should speak the truth about all people in our lives. And in 2026, women can be just as bad as men. Here's an example. We fly with the girls. When I walk through security with the girls, they question them both. Who is this man? Is he dad? What's his name? How is he related to you? They walk through with my wife. No questions. She can kidnap them just as easily as I can. And honestly, it's sexist that they don't consider her a threat. That's all I'm saying. I support women's rights and their wrongs.
All right. A lot of ways we could go here, but I'm gonna start off with the low hanging fruit. I have never been questioned by TSA about the parentage of my kids. It's not sexism. You just give off that vibe.
Could be.
Yeah. So
okay. Right.
No. I wasn't actually. Obviously, this is one of those situations where what Ethan's talking about was a group chat, via text, and so tone, intention can be all over the place. I was not actually that worked up. It was mostly me devolving into stupidity because fact is I found your point ridiculous then and ridiculous now. Good. Simply on the basis of like your overarching point that women can do wrong things is correct.
Thank you. All I needed.
The entirety of the take came from our friend, you mischaracterizing what our friend said, both then and now. He's like, she is messier than me because we were talking about the prompt was for all you audience out there. When you wipe your ass with toilet paper, are you a folder or are you a buncher? And this friend of ours said that he is a folder and his wife is a buncher. Practical. And he found that alarming because in every other aspect of their life, she is neater. And that's when Ethan goes on this monologue about how women can be messy too.
Yeah.
About how our friend's wife chooses to wipe her ass.
Why would I talk about that? That's so inappropriate. I would not talk about the way she wipes her butt because
you spent a long time and just put it into the public domain here.
I mean, I wasn't going to bring up the prompt. You did.
People need to know.
Do they?
Not you. Yep.
I don't think they did. I think you supplied too much detail, sir.
I could supply more and it would be way worse, but I won't.
Probably for the best. Let's throw on all the explicit.
I can always go worse, but yes, no.
Yes, you can.
I agree with your take in general. It was the specificity of the situation where I'm like, this is not the take. And it's just like, it's like my wife spilling cereal and you being like, women can spill cereal too. Like
they can.
Okay.
They can.
Good talk, man.
Good talk, person.
Yes. Well, no, I'm speaking to you. I feel okay gendering you, knowing your pronouns.
Sorry.
All right. I got one more. You did 5. I'll do one quick one, and then we'll work on something. We didn't even pre-plan what we're working on. I'm happy to work on something, but not my biggest one, but my next hot take is that birthday parties have turned into giant pissing contests. Kids' birthday parties have turned into giant pissing contests. We've done a whole episode on this, so I won't be long. But my take, kids' birthday parties have become giant pissing contests where it is less about the kids and their joy and their friends. It's in there. It's factored. But it's no longer the predominant factor. It is, how can I, like, it really feels like every single parent's out there, like, how can I make sure that every other parent that comes to this party knows that I love my kid so much and I am willing to produce this to the nth degree of like bounce houses and tons of these curated crafts and like the gift bags that are like, we had a family at my kids' preschool back when both my kids were there, sibling combo, rent out an entire water park.
Wow.
Did my kids love it? Yes and no. My daughter got sick. She couldn't go. My son had a fantastic time. But it's like wild to me how I feel like when I was a kid, what you did was you just had the party at Chuck E. Cheese or something comparable. You got some pizzas, you shoved some screens in their face, and I get why maybe that's not an allure in the age of iPads everywhere. But you know, you just rented out a place, you had a cake, you had some hats, and the kids just went crazy. And now it's got to be this very high production, like scheduled thing of like, okay, now guys, we're moving into the, you know, painting ceramics portion of our birthday party. And I think it's dumb. I don't have some big mental takeaway like all my other takes. I just think it's dumb.
We do, you know, not that I'm like super proud of it, but the girls have fun, but we do like cheap birthday parties. Just cause, and I feel kind of badly because my parents gave my brother and I like nice birthday parties, but the floor of every birthday party here is like $500 if you want to do it at a place. And that's like, and if, and you know, then like you're adding quite a lot of money per kid over whatever the 500 covers. And for us, it's like we can do just as good of a party on our own. And maybe like when daycare is completely off the books for us and we're not dropping all that money, maybe we'll spring for a nicer birthday party. If it's like an activity that we can't recreate at home. But you know, I'm
not against it. I would be, you know, we've had a few birthday parties here, you know, at our house. And they've been great. But we've gotten in this phase now where like if the kid wants a birthday party and we want it at the house, my wife decides all the like home renovation fix up stuff we've got to do. And so between supplies and time, we end up spending as much or more. And I'm just like, we should have just rented out the $500 room. Like at this point, because like we would have let and signed the form and somebody else would have done it for us. But now I've got to like paint the side of the house so it's presentable for the people that aren't going to remember what color the house was by the time they left, because they're making sure that the kids don't fall in the pool or impale themselves.
Right. Yeah, no, I mean that makes sense. You know,
but that's why we've also moved to a lot of the like we know ourselves, and I think we know we could very easily get caught up in the game. And so that's why we offer our kids the trip as an alternative, because it's like, hey, big shiny object, and we don't have to plan something. And like my wife or I, whichever one of us goes on that trip, is going to enjoy the hell out of that a lot more than planning, orchestrating, and hosting a birthday party. Usually with a decent number of parents that we either casually or don't know at all.
Right.
Anyway.
100%. All right. Working wise, we talked earlier about progress not being linear. I'm going the wrong direction weight wise, which is frustrating. I had a pretty, still a little residual effects, but I had a cold last week that kept me out of work for a day and had me masked up for most of the day a couple times. But today I got my normal cardio in. Yesterday I couldn't go my full normal distance. Today did the whole thing, felt pretty good. Hoping for next week to be a full 5 days of hitting every benchmark. I'd say fitness wise this week, all things considered, if I wasn't sick, I would have given myself a B-, but that's not the worst.
Yeah.
That's all I really got.
Yeah. For me, weight wise, I've definitely, since like last season when we were checking, I've definitely gained a few pounds. Hasn't been heinous, but it's been a lot of what I was talking about in story time. Not just my wife being out of town, but the week before that, I was out of town for work. The week before that, we were on vacation for spring break. The week before, like a week or two before that, I was on a different work trip, right? And it's like, I was talking to my therapist today, and I was just like, I can't remember the last time I had a normal week with normal inconveniences, right?
Yep.
And I think that adds up in that ways. And I've tried to keep like my diet and my exercise as like regular as possible, but like in a lot of those scenarios, it's like you're going out for dinner with coworkers when you're on a work trip or something. And like when you're in Chicago and your boss lives in Chicago and you're there for a work trip and she goes, this is the deep dish pizza place that I had my rehearsal dinner. You're like, well, shit, I got to go.
Of course I'm going to eat all that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you're like, then you're eating the deep dish pizza. And so it's, it's a lot of those little things adding up. And, I want to sit here and say they're not excuses, but they are, because just like the switch on being positive or negative, it's a choice. It's a different choice to make of like what you eat and how you do it. But, I think some of it was like physically related to like my heart operation back in January, where like I was a little more sedentary for a little while. I wasn't pushing myself, but I also was kind of giving myself a pass on monitoring my food intake. And so it just it slipped, where it's like I make great progress when I'm tracking my food, getting all my workouts in, hitting all the right buttons. And it's sort of that next frontier of like when things aren't perfect, because they're rarely perfect. How do you continue to affect the change, make the little decisions, right? And I've tried those in bits and spurts and had some success, and progress isn't linear and I'm trying to get better at it. But like going out to dinner with coworkers and being like, that sounds good. but I looked at the menu beforehand. I fed it into ChatGPT. I tried to figure out what the lowest calorie, highest protein option was. And I know that I'm going to get this, even though it might only be my third choice, because you know what? I'm making the choice that the weight, the health, the whatever, that's what's going to win over the tastiest possible thing on the menu, except when you're a deep dish restaurant, because you got
for sure
no healthy options.
No. Just remember, just because something's an excuse doesn't mean it's not true, and that's okay.
Sure.
Yeah. All right. Well, on that note, everybody, yeah. Thanks for suffering through this with us. This was fun and a clear indication that we had not thought of a topic until 8:00 tonight. So as we said, this is a hobby, but let's make some money off it. So please like and subscribe on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. Go to workingonthedadpod.com to find everything you need to know about us. I'm Ethan. That's Alex. Maybe we'll be back next week. I think 16th, probably. I don't think either of us is out. And if we are out, you'll see us the week after that. All right. Hope you paid your taxes by our next episode.